Hi, everyone, and welcome to the on-demand webinar series, Lighting Made Easy, starring the Lighting Wizard, and featuring the newest catalog from Task Lighting and Power. My name is Vanessa DeKoekkoek, and I am the Global Training Manager here at 2020. I am really excited to show you some of these new things that are available to you today using 2020 Design Live. I hope you had a chance to watch the first portion of this webinar because the team from Task Lighting spent some time going through some of the basics. So I have a huge thank you, especially to Keith Clark, the product manager at Task Lighting, who walked you through a lot of the lighting basics that I know when I was a designer was a very intimidating topic because it was something that was very new to me. So hopefully after today's session, you'll feel a lot more comfortable, or at least comfortable enough to try this out. It's actually quite easy. As you probably already know, 2020 Design Live has a number of manufacturer catalogs, but I'd like to mention we are always looking for more. So if you jump out to 2020spaces.com/catalog-content, did you know that you can actually go out and request additional catalogs? When I'm out here and I click on the 2020 Design Live catalog content, it'll show me a whole list of all the different manufacturers that we already work with, but at the very top, you can request a catalog as a designer, or if you're a manufacturer, we can also feature your catalog. So definitely check that out. But let's jump back in and talk a little bit more about task lighting. So if you watch that very first segment of this webinar, Keith spent a lot of time talking about the different types of lighting. And I'm not going to go through every single detail again, but I want to highlight the things that are most relevant to specifying lighting in 2020 Design Live, especially through the Lighting Wizard. One of the first types of lighting that they talked about was the LED tape lighting. And a couple of the highlights for this is it's very easy, flexible, and affordable. It's great because it is that flexible tape lighting. It doesn't have a separate housing. It's really, really easy to install. And it comes in either a single color or tunable, depending on your application. So I'm going to show you a couple slides, and then we're going to jump into the software so you can actually see this in action, because at the end of the day, it's so much easier to show it. But if you're ever looking to specify this tape lighting, let's say like under your wall cabinets, it's going to be really easy to do because they've created a preset right inside the Lighting Wizard. You'll notice the very first preset is literally just called tape lighting. So we could pick that very simply. Now, the other type of lighting, or the next type of lighting that Keith talked about, was the Deluxe Linear fixtures. There are some different things to consider as far as installation. This does have mounting clips, and they're pre-assembled fixtures. It does have a really nice finished look at a pretty good price point still. And like the first type of lighting, this also comes in single color or tunable white. Now, if this sounds like a good solution for any of your design projects, this is also in a preset right inside the Lighting Wizard, right under the Deluxe Linear fixtures option. And then the last preset really focuses on the premium linear fixtures. So with these, they're a little more powerful. They can go up to 600 lumens per foot of output. These are really, really sleek looking. They perform at a really high level, and they just come in a single color, and they install with screws, a little bit different than the last types. Some of these things are very important because I'm sure it can be very, very overwhelming when you first look at the website or you're looking through some different spec pages. There's actually a lot of different part numbers to choose from, but now that this is built into the Lighting Wizard, this will really help us kind of define those part numbers much, much faster without having to memorize all of them. So notice there's premium linear fixtures as an option built right into the Lighting Wizard. So we'll see that in a second. Now, if you're not looking for any of those types, but you want to maybe mix and match a little bit, it's okay, because there's also options to manually add some of your own product if you're comfortable with that, or create what's called a multi-zone design. Of course, manual, easy enough. Basically, it's just adding products to a product list rather than putting it into like the floor plan or the 3D of the design. And then multi-zone is probably the one that I personally use the most, just because it gives me the most flexibility if I'm considering lighting maybe above some crown molding on the top of the cabinets, maybe lighting under the wall cabinets as well as inside cabinets, as you can see in the image on the screen, and even lighting at the toe kick area or down below on the base cabinet. So when you have a design that calls for more lighting than just one place, the multi-zone option built into the lighting wizard is great. So both of those options, manual and multi-zone, are going to be found on the right-hand side of the screen. And we'll take a look at that example live in the software in just a second. Now, before we get started, I will mention if you've never specified task lighting before, you probably don't have the catalog yet. And that's actually the very, very first step. Before we jump in the software, we need to make sure that we have the catalog or that we download that. And it's accessible today from your 2020 account. So let's take a look at where that is. I'm going to go ahead and actually open up 2020 Design. Now, I already have a design ready to go, but I'm going to jump up to the very top under the Help menu. And we're going to just take a quick look for the website. You'll notice the very second option under the Help tab is the 2020 homepage. And by jumping out to our website, right at the very top, you can actually sign into your 2020 account. And this will give you access to make sure that you have updated your subscription. You can go under Downloads and Catalogs, and you can download any of the latest software versions as well as catalogs. Now, because I know exactly what I'm looking for, I can just type it in. I typed in task, and it's found under the catalog update section. Here is that task lighting catalog from this year. I would just click download, and this will give me access to that zip file that I can install right from my catalog installer. If you've never installed a catalog before, don't worry, it's not a very difficult process, but you can also reach out to our support team or check out the Knowledge Center, and there's a whole article with all the steps on how to install it. Now, I already have mine installed, and I'll show you where that is. Right now, when I go in the local browser of 2020 Design and I hit the drop down, you'll notice that I've got task lighting right here. And there's the task lighting catalog. Now, the cool thing is I don't actually have to go shopping through this catalog because honestly, the first time you're in here, it might be a little intimidating to look at all these different products, right? Now, if you know the actual part, you can select it and bring it in. But a lot of times we're looking for the software to kind of help us or guide us through some really good design decisions. So instead of clicking through the catalog traditionally, I'm going to leverage the lighting wizard. Because I installed the task lighting catalog, all I need to do is go up to the items tab at the top and look for the lighting wizard button. Now I'm going to note just a couple of things about this project. First of all, of course, I've got a nice big kitchen space. There is a laundry room space and even kind of neighboring rooms. I do have some lighting in here. You probably see all these circles all the way around my plan. I'm going to mention that those are not from the task lighting catalog. Those are actually from one of our room catalogs. If I go under the 2020 section and I look for room fur, there's lighting fixtures, and those are just the recess lights. So recess lights just for overall lighting. You don't have to put those in, but in some cases it may help your rendering quality or brighten up the room, especially depending on the size of that space and the number of windows and all of those things. But just know that I already have some of those planned, so don't worry too much about exactly where they are, their placement. Just know that they're already planned in there. One other thing I want to mention, just because I did customize this, everybody's different in how they use our software. Did you notice when I scrolled through my list, this local browser listed all my manufacturers kind of grouped out? That's just something you can set in your preferences if you'd like. If I go under the File menu and look under Preferences, you'll see that the second option is catalogs, and in here there is a checkbox to show by manufacturer. So you don't have to do this. I just find that I can search through them a little faster when they're grouped together in bold. So I'm just going to cancel that for now, but that's why that looked that way if yours happens to look different. Now to the good stuff. Before I actually apply any lights from task lighting, let's take a look at this space as is. I'm going to go ahead and go to Presentation and open up a perspective. Now this design does have all the finishes selected already, so when you see tile on the wall and paint on the walls and the color of the cabinets, surprise, surprise, white, those are already pre-selected. If you're not sure how to do that, we have a lot of different training courses that go into those details. But at this point, what I want to show you is just kind of out of the box what this design looks like right now. It looks okay, but it's going to look better in a second. Now, I already have a few views already pre-saved, so let me just change one quick view just so you can see the other side of this space as well. So I just want to look at the other side where there is like a little decorative hutch area. You notice when it first starts rendering, I'm in 2020 Design Live, and I'm using the Easy Render rendering engine. So it really quickly kind of tries to auto-calculate the lighting. And this is actually pretty decent, pretty bright. There are a couple just general scene lighting areas that you can adjust very simply, but sometimes this might default kind of dark. Now I'm purposely going to make it just a little bit darker so we can really see the impact of adding our own lighting as well. So now imagine how different this space could look if I added additional lighting under these wall cabinets, maybe even at that toe kick space. What are all of those things that I would need? Now, you'd think like many consumers or many of your clients might just think, well, I just need to order a light or I have to order a few lights. Well, no, there's actually more to it, but don't worry, the software is going to help us factor some of those things like, do I need a driver? Do I need additional accessories? So let me go ahead and close this. And we're going to go ahead and jump up to the Items tab. I'm going to look for the lighting wizard and I'm going to select that task lighting catalog. So here are all of the different presets that we just looked at. Depending on the type that you want to specify for this project, you can very easily just click on one of the presets and answer the questions. In this case, if I wanted to stick with the linear fixtures and tape light, then I just have to pick the type. Now, the really nice thing is as you look through this list, you'll see a couple indicators to help you really make sure you're picking the right one. It'll, of course, remind you of the selection, but it also will show you an image and even the Kelvin value of what we're looking at. So depending on how warm or cool you want that lighting, that's something to think about. It will actually render with either a really warm white or a really cool white, depending on the level that I pick. So maybe I'm going to go with the daylight white, that kind of cooler white, since I have such a white kitchen. And I can also select if it's hardwired or wireless, and I'm just going to say okay. Now it has actually applied the lighting. You can't really tell in the floor plan yet, so let's come back to that in just a second. But let's take a look at the rendering. Okay, with that first preset, it was really just considering placing lighting under the wall cabinets, and it's rendering a little clearer right now, but you'll notice it's a very nice brisk, cool white color right underneath that area. It looks great. Now, you might kind of wonder though, okay, how did it know where to place that? How long it should go? How do I know it's got all the right materials? Where did it go in the plan? So let's go back to that floor plan, and any of these tabs can very easily be quickly used to view the project however you want. So I'm going to pick one of these tabs, but I'm going to actually change the scheme. Right built into the software with no extra things you have to upload is a scheme called the lighting wizard, or lighting. And when I change this to the lighting scheme and I hit apply, you'll notice that this project looks completely different now, but it kind of makes all the other complexities of this project, like cabinets and countertops and toe kick and all of those other layers, a little in the background and really highlights the lighting. It also has a lot of dimensions on here. If you want, you can go in even further and adjust these, turn them off, change their color, whatever you need. You can see for now, I just turned off the auto dimensions just for the moment, just so we can really kind of see what's happened. So if I zoom in, this is actually kind of an open shelf area, but it has factored in where it wants to add lighting and the drivers, and also come along this wall. Now here, it's a wall cabinet that basically goes to the ceiling, and there's a refrigerator below it, so there was no need for lighting underneath. Here is all base cabinets, so no need for any under cabinet lighting there. And then kind of my decorative area that you see, kind of 3 different pieces here because that hutch was different heights. So it's 3 different sections. So it's done a lot of that work just automatically for us. Oh, and even the laundry room too, because I had that over here. One thing I will note is to watch, and I would always recommend to do any accessories last. If you spend a lot of time really creating stellar presentations and you want to add a coffee pot and a mixer and add those extras, sometimes those extras will act as if they're taking up the space under the wall cabinet, and then the lighting will skip that area. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you have a cookie jar or anything like that, you might actually want to wait to put those in last after you add your lighting, because the lighting won't know where to go around that darn cookie jar. All right, now what did that actually look like though? Let's go ahead and jump back up into the rendering and take a look at the hutch area as well. Now I already have a couple of these views pre-saved. That's how I'm clicking to them so quickly. To save those, you just have to set up your rendering and click Save View in the bottom right-hand corner. That's a really fast trick. But let me jump back over the hutch just so you can see how different does that look now with a little more accent lighting below those wall cabinets. Now, if you remember, I did kind of play with the lighting a little bit earlier with just the general settings in the dashboard. If I jump back to the scene, you'll notice that there is a user added slider. That is talking about anything you add, not factoring in like your windows and doors and just overall lighting that kind of comes with the software. So if you're really trying to make a super bold, impressive statement, now I'm going to over exaggerate this, but let's let this re-render with the user lights really bright and everything else kind of dimmed. It should look a little more dramatic in this hutch area. Looks great. Okay, now let's say that we tried that out, looks cool, but we changed our mind. So super easy to do because the lighting wizard placed everything. The lighting wizard can also take everything away. So when I open that lighting wizard back up, notice there's a reset button at the bottom. When I hit reset, I just say yes. Now it takes away, I should say it takes away all the lighting that it placed. Notice it left all of those recess lights that I had in my ceiling, but everything else was removed. So you don't have to be nervous about trying this tool out because you can't really mess it up. You can just undo it essentially through that reset button. So let's jump back to the lighting wizard one more time, and I'm going to choose multi-zone this time because remember, multi-zone was where it kind of gives you a little more control of where you'd want to place it, more than just under those wall cabinets. So in this case, there's an over the wall cabinet area. Because I'm basically to the ceiling, I'm going to set that to none. Under the wall cabinet, I can choose, again, puck light or linear fixtures and tape. And again, look through the list and find the one that applies best for your instance. I'm going to kind of stick to that daylight white color and pick what works best for this project. Inside wall cabinets, if you have wall cabinets that have glass, it's where it's going to try to factor that in. I don't in today's example, so I can click none. And lastly, our DeKoekkoek space. Let's try that. Let's see how this looks. And I'm going to match the type of light, again, just because I want to make sure it's a similar color. And let's do hardwired again, and I'll say okay. So very similar to the first example, but really this time I've also added that DeKoekkoek lighting, which if I zoom in, you can kind of see that along the front here. And where we're really going to be able to see that is in the renderings. Let's go back to that hutch area. Now remember, I left some of my overall dashboard settings as many of the lights are kind of turned way down, but the user lights are turned way up, again, just for drama for the moment. But now you can really see that shine underneath those base cabinets just to add that bit of detail, hopefully help the client kind of understand the impact of lighting in their space before they make that commitment or that investment along the way. Now, if you're curious of like how much that really can make an impact in the rendering, I want to show one other thing that it just blows me away. When you see it in actual photos, of course, it's super impressive. But I also want to show, here's an example of the same exact rendering, kind of the overall L shape of that space in the 4 different kind of Kelvin temperatures, right? So some of the warmer examples, and I didn't do anything extra in 2020 design. I didn't tweak any of the lighting. I just let it add lighting through the lighting wizard, and I just picked the 4 different Kelvin temperatures just to see how much change that would make in that project. And I think especially because I'm using so much white in today's design, it's very, very evident seeing the cooler versus the warmer tones. So definitely something to consider, and maybe even render it multiple ways to help your client see the differences if they're questioning that change. Now, the next step is thinking about, okay, how do I accurately order all of this product that I just specified? It's actually quite easy because the lighting wizard has already planned it. I can just jump up to the reports and look for the lighting plan. You can set up your reports how you like, and then when I click view, it'll tell us more about what we've added into this project. Now, if I scroll through this report, the best part is not only does it show you that general floor plan, but it also gives you your material list organized by those different areas that we had planned. So I've got my under the wall cabinet items and my toe kick lighting items and any miscellaneous items that I may have added as well. Now, if this is your first time really specifying lighting, keep in mind that there are a lot of resources available to you. The task lighting team has a design services team that is ready to help out if you ever need a little bit someone to double check or make sure that we're specifying everything correctly. And if you ever have any challenges in the software where it's not showing you what you expect, you can also reach out to our support team here at 2020. The emails are right on the screen there. I hope that this helps and gives you some confidence in specifying lighting or really stepping up some of your renderings with showing lighting in a project. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at 2020spaces.com. Thanks for joining us today.